Hey everybody, so in this video we're going to talk about how do we solve credit problems. So these are going to be problems that involve things like bank loans, lines of credit that you get from the bank, credit cards, payday loans, promotions, rebates, all that kind of stuff. We're just going to run through 4 examples here. There really isn't much to this. Again, we're going to be using the financial calculator, but some of the hard stuff might be to kind of figure out what the present values are of certain things. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. Example number 1 says, Jeff has taken out a loan of $5,500 to pay for his first car. What must his monthly payment be if the bank charges 9.25% interest, compounded monthly? The loan is being paid back over 3 years. So again, we're just going to set up our financial calculator information here. We're solving for the payment. That's what the question is asking. The present value is, like we were talking about in the previous lesson, it's the amount of the loan that's taken out. So $5,500, and that's a positive number because that's money that he is getting from the bank. So when you get money, it's positive. When you're giving money back, that's going to be negative. We're paying off the loan, so the future value is 0. He's making monthly payments, so my payment per year is 12. And compounded monthly, my compounding number is 12 as well. Interest rate 9.25%. And my N number, again, is years times PY. So in this case, it is 3 times 12, which is 36. So we are going to punch this into the financial calculator and see what we get for a payment answer. So we are solving for the payment, so I'm going to click on the PMT. My N number is 36, interest rate 9.25, present value 5,500, future value is 0, making 12 payments per year, and it is compounded monthly. So when we calculate, we get a payment amount of $175.54. So my payment amount is $175.54. Part B says, what is the total amount that Jeff actually had to pay for the car loan? So he made monthly payments of $175.54. And in total, he made 36 payments of that amount. So we're just going to multiply those two numbers together. Just going to bring up my calculator here. Give me 1 second. So on my calculator, I'm going to do 175.54 times 36. And he actually had to pay back $6,319.44. So essentially, he had to pay back an extra $800 or so to the bank on top of the loan that he took out. Example number 2, Corey just bought a new stereo, TV, and computer at Best Buy, and the total price was $3,460.57. He's going to use his credit card to pay for this, and his credit card offers 18.5% interest compounded daily, and offers an instant cash rebate on all purchases. If he can afford monthly payments of $250, how many payments will he have to make to pay for his new stuff? So our payment this time, this is our N number. That's what we're going to solve for. My interest rate is 18.5%. My present value is how much he paid for his items. He can afford to pay back $250 per month, which will leave him with a future value of 0. He's going to be making monthly payments, and it is compounded daily. This is a very common thing with credit cards. Credit cards have a very high interest rate, and they usually compound daily. At least the one that I've always had has compounded daily. So these are very common things, and you'll notice that the interest rate is very high. So if you don't pay off your credit card debt within a month, you pay a lot of interest on that. So just kind of something to keep in mind. So we're going to punch again these numbers into the financial calculator. And this time we're solving for n, so I'm going to click on the n tab. My interest rate is 18.5%. Present value of $3,460.57. He's making payments of $250. He wants to pay it off, so future value 0, making monthly payments compounded daily. So when we calculate that, we get 15.706. Okay, so n is 15.706. This is the amount of payments that he has to make. And if he's making monthly payments, that is going to be just over a year, about a year and 3 months, basically. Part B says, what will the total cost of his stereo, TV, and computer be by the time he has paid off his credit card? So he paid off his credit card of the $3,460.57. We also need to figure out how much interest he paid. So the total cost is just the loan amount plus the interest that he had to pay on top of that. So if we look back at the financial calculator, it tells us how much interest he had to pay, which is $465.92. So we're going to add that to the loan amount, and basically it says here again the amount that he had to pay was $3,926.49. So $465.92. I'm just writing it down on my paper. I will click back because I tend to forget numbers when I say them. So the interest was $465.92. The loan amount was $3460.57. And when we add those two numbers together, we should get the $3,900 amount. $3,926.49. All right, example number 3 says Nigel is buying a big screen TV worth $15.99 on credit. He can afford to make monthly payments of $75, and he's considering 2 different credit options. Which one should he choose and why? So his first option, he's going to be using a credit card that he just got, which has an interest rate of 18.5% compounded daily, but it does not charge interest in the first year. So this is going to be option number 1. And so he's not being charged anything extra in the first year. So in the first year, he's making $75 payments, and he's going to be making those monthly. So we have 75 times 12, which is $900. So this is in the first year. He's paid off $900. But for everything beyond that, like he hasn't paid off the $15.99 yet. So in basically after the first year, he still has to pay $15.99 subtract 900, which is $699. So he still owes $699. So this is now being charged interest because it's after the first year. So we're still going to set up the financial calculator stuff. So I'm just going to write it down here. Okay, so we don't know how many payments he has to make. We know the interest rate is 18.5. He still has to pay off $699. He's still making payments of $75. Still wants to pay it off. He's making monthly payments, compounded daily. So that's where all of these numbers come from. All right, and now we're going to punch in the financial calculator and see what we get. So we're solving for n in this case. A lot of our information is still here. The interest rate is still there. He's paying $75 to pay it off, paying it monthly, compounded daily. So if we calculate that, he has to make 10.146 payments. Okay, so my N answer is 10.146. He has to make 10.146 more payments of $75 each. So when we multiply these two things together, 10.146 times 75 is $760.95. Now we're not quite done yet. We've done the stuff with the financial calculator here, but we want to compare the total cost that he has to pay back of this option, and then we're going to do the same thing with the second option. So the total cost of this option, well, he paid $900 in the first year. He's going to be paying another $760.95 in the second year. So he's going to end up paying $1,660.95 in total. Now we're going to do the same thing, except now we're going to take a look at option number 2. So option number 2 has an in-store financing plan which offers a $25 rebate off the purchase price, so he saves $25 up front, and then he's going to be charged an interest rate of 17% compounded daily. So the present value of this loan is going to be $1,599 minus the $25 that they're taking off the top. So he only has to pay back $1,574. Other than that, there's no like interest-free payments or anything like that. So we're just going to go ahead and put this again into the financial calculator, write down our variables here. And again, we're going to figure out how many payments of $75 he's going to make based off of this amount here. So my interest rate is 17%. My present value is $1,574, making payments of $75, going to pay off the loan, so that's 0, making monthly payments compounded daily. So there are my 6 numbers, and we're going to be solving for n. So we're going to click over one more time here. My interest rate is 17%. My present value is $1,574. Other than that, all of the information is the same. So when we calculate, we get 25.118. So I'm going to write that in here for my n number. Just click back here. 25.118. Again, we have to do this calculation to find out how much they're paying back in total. So he's making payments of he's making 25.118 payments of $75 per month. So 25.118 times $75 is $18.83.85. So now if we compare the two options, option number 1, basically he's paying over $200 less compared to option number 2. So I would choose option 1. So really the interest-free makes a really big difference. This one, they were charged interest on every payment and only saved $25 off the like at the beginning. This one, they didn't have to pay interest for a whole year, so that's why they saved a lot more money compared to option number 2. We have one more example here, but strap in because it's going to be a long one. It says Nikki wants to be debt-free in 5 years, and she has 2 credit cards on which she makes monthly payments. So there's card A that has the balance, the interest rate, the compounding, card B, the same thing. And it says Nikki has qualified for a line of credit at her bank with an interest rate of 9.6% compounded monthly and a credit limit of $6,000. So basically she can borrow $6,000 from the bank. Usually lines of credit have like lower interest rates, and yeah, like basically it's another option. So she's borrowing from the bank to pay off her credit cards. The question says she wants to pay off both credit card balances by borrowing the money. How much interest is she going to save by doing that? So we're going to have to calculate the interest amount for each of the two cards. We're also going to calculate the interest for the line of credit, and we're going to compare the difference between the two. So let's start with card A and see how much interest she would have to pay. So again, we're going to set up our 7 things. This should be habit by now. And CY. So for card A, the balance is $2,436.98. That's my present value. She wants to make monthly payments. We don't know what those are yet. She wants to pay it off, so the future value is 0. Again, monthly payments, so PY is 12, and compounded daily is 365. The interest rate is 18.5%, and she's making monthly payments over 5 years, so my N number is 12 times 5, or 60. So we're going to be solving for the payment number here, and then just a reminder here, the interest amount is your N number times the payment amount minus the loan amount, which in this case is going to be my present value. Okay, so we're going to solve for the payment, then we're going to do this calculation here and see how much interest she's paying. Or, I mean, the financial calculator also tells you that amount, so you could also do that. So we have 60 payments, 18.5%, present value 2436.98 with a future value of 0, paying monthly, compounded daily. We get a payment amount of $62.73. So I'm going to write that down here, box it in. So my payment amount is $62.73. And now if we want to calculate the amount of interest, well, if we again switch back to the financial calculator, it does say that the total amount of interest is $1,327. We can do this calculation to see how it compares, but I'm just going to write that number down. The interest amount is $1,327. Now we're going to do the same thing, except for card B, which I don't know why makes me think of Cardi B. PMT, future value, PY, CY. All right, so I've got card B here. Same, my N number is still 60. My interest rate is now 19%. The value of this card is $3,043.26. Future value 0. Monthly payments, compounded daily. Again, we're solving for the payment amount. So the only thing that's changing here is my interest number and my present value. Everything else should stay the same. So when we calculate that, the payments are $79.19 and the interest amount is $1708.07. So my payment is $79.19. My interest was $1708.07. Okay, so now if we add the total interest for this, we're just going to add our two numbers together, 1327, 1708.07. It is 3035.07. All right, so this is for the two credit cards, and now we are going to check out the line of credit. So we're still going to be using the financial calculator for this. So again, I'm going to write down my 7 things. Now, it says that she can borrow $6,000, but she doesn't need to borrow $6,000. She only needs to borrow the amount to pay off the cards. So my present value is just going to be the sum of the amounts that she has to pay on the 2 cards. My N number is still 60. My I number is now 9.6%. So you can see it's about half the amount of the interest rates of the credit cards. We're still calculating the payment. The future value is still going to be 0 because we're paying it off, making monthly payments, and it's compounded monthly. So it's also compounded a lot less frequently. So let's go ahead and put that into the financial calculator. Now, I don't know if this financial calculator will actually add the values or not. I've never tried that before, so I'm going to test it out here and see, and if it doesn't, well, then I'll do it myself. No, it does not. It does not recognize that. So on this financial calculator, we do need to add or do our calculations first before we can actually put the numbers into the financial calculator. So this is $5,480.24. Future value is 0. My interest rate is 9.6. And now we're compounding monthly instead of daily. So the payments are higher. The payments are $115.36. But I mean, when you compare that to the payments you're making on each of the other 2 cards, it is actually less. And then the total interest number is also here. It is $1441.55. So I wrote my payment number down there. My total interest paid here is $1441.55. Okay, so how much interest will she save? Well, when we subtract our 2 interest numbers, she saves $15.93.52.